Thank you, Leader, governors, members of the General Assembly, friends all. It's wonderful to be here to pay tribute to Lacey Putney. Susan and I wanted to come here. We went to the Carmela and Lacey's wedding naturally. Where are they going to have a wedding? They're going to have it at Mr. Jefferson's Capitol, which was just a wonderful reception, wonderful wedding. And Lacey's someone that Kurt mentioned that I served with Lacey. We worked together. But Lacey, when I got to the House of Delegates, I got elected in 1982. Lacey was already an old-timer. He'd been there for 20 years. Heck, I'm looking at this. I was 8 or 9 years old when you were running for the House of Delegates. And Lacey was already been there for 20 years. And but what I'm going to be very honest with you, when you get in the House of Delegates, when I was elected, we had Vance Wilkins. What was it? We had about 33, 34 Republicans, and we were on there on the 7th floor, and Lacey was on the 7th floor, and there'd be these issues that would come up, and I'd want to learn about the unwritten rules, and all the legislators know the unwritten rules are just as important, if not more so, than the written rules. I see a bunch of heads nodding. So I would actually go to Lacey Putney's office, because I knew Lacey was an independent. If he wanted to, if he stayed with the Democrats, whether maybe after A.L. Philpott, but he could have been Speaker of the House. A very powerful position. I knew this was a person of principle, and I'd go to Lacey's office there and ask to get him counsel, get counsel from him. His assistants, Bunny Gunn and Jim McIntosh, were always real friendly to me. In fact, Jim McIntosh ended up being a legislative assistant for me in subsequent years, and I just looked up to Lacey Putney so much as a real man of principle. And in fact, people have said this, is central casting. He's like GQ of what you'd expect out of a legislator. Look at his hair. Just perfect, immaculate shape. Who cares about the tie? It's always a Washington Lee color tie that he's wearing all the time. But when I was elected governor, Lacey was a big help then as well. And all the initiatives, whether it was abolition of parole or welfare reform and a variety of other areas, but there were two key areas, and it actually is consistent with what Governor Belials and Governor Robb and Governor Wilder have said as well. Two key areas where Lacey was just absolutely crucial as an ally, and that was, generally speaking, in higher education and in economic development and jobs. I mentioned Kurt, you mentioned the tuition assistance grants. One of the key things we want to do is make sure college tuition was affordable. Campaign promise, freeze college tuition. Well, you got to get that funding to the colleges and universities to do that. Lacey was key. The tuition assistance grant, I was telling Susan, I said, gosh, Lacey was just a big advocate of tuition assistance grants, and he was absolutely crucial for independent colleges in that area. Then in the area of economic development, it's a variety of different ways that Lacey was key in that. Now, he understood tourism was being important, big ally and advocate for Poplar Forest, Mr. Jefferson's home, which is perfect for the Thomas Jefferson Institute. They ought to name the Virginia Horse Center, as far as I'm concerned, after Lacey Putney. And also the National D-Day Memorial. Lacey was a big advocate of the National D-Day Memorial, but that was a lot of folks working together on that. The other thing that Lacey understood in economic development is that we had to sell and promote Virginia. Whenever we'd ask for funds for workforce training services, which was generally not brought up, and I know Jim and Bob and Doug, you all know how important that is. Lacey was key on that. We doubled the number of enterprise zones in Virginia from 25 to 50. That had to get appropriations because of the mindset of the way they look at things, that lower taxes gets more investment. That's kind of strange to some folks in government, but it actually works. And you've got Frito-Lay into the enterprise zone we created in Lynchburg. The other thing that comes up, and I know that we used it a lot, as did my successors, and that is the Governor's Opportunity Fund. To get the Governor's Opportunity Fund to be funded, you need the Appropriations Committee to get those funds. Now, that doesn't close the deal. It does close the deal, but it is not how you win. You win by having lower taxes, reasonable regulations, right to work law, all the different economic costs. But the deal closing fund, the Governor's Opportunity Fund, was really important. And some folks were against that. And you still hear people today questioning the Governor's Opportunity Fund. Lacey knew that that was very valuable for us beating out one of the Carolinas or Tennessee or Georgia or some other state. And indeed, we used it for Bar Labs in Bedford County, which is now the largest private employer in Bedford County. It's now Teva, it's an Israeli-owned company, and for a Japanese company called Dynax, which is located in Botetourt County, and Austin here says it's either the first or second largest employer in Botetourt County. Those are the reason I bring up Botetourt and Bedford. Those are Lacey's district or his county. So Lacey was just key in those areas as well. So Lacey, all of us are here paying tribute to you. Tribute to you for your consistent leadership. In so many ways, you're truly a most valuable player for people, regardless of party. You're an independent, but you're a man who always stood by principles. Susan and I look at you as, if you look at the General Assembly, whether it's the Senate or the House, you think of Lacey Putney. There's that rudder. You look at that statue of George Washington there in the rotunda. And what does that stand for? Integrity, honor, commitment to service to the people, and also a self-discipline and honor. That's what Lacey Putney can have a statue to him, as far as I'm concerned, in there, because Lacey, through your many, many decades of service and sacrifices by your family, yourself as well, you have truly made Virginia a much better place for people to live, make it more affordable for people to learn. There are more jobs because of you, and all of us salute you. We salute you as the most valuable player. You're a Hall of Famer, and we'll forever look up to you. Thank you.